Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for attending our session about how to find and fund an international internship. Before we continue, I want to introduce to you, myself, as well as my colleagues who are going to be sharing resources with you today. So first of all, my name is Kelly Nelson. I'm the Assistant Director for Global Engagement and Education Abroad in the International Center. And one of the reasons that the International Center is putting on this session is because one of our advising roles with education abroad is to support students who are interested in finding global internships, whether that's through University of Michigan sponsored programs or also through external means, which we will be covering today. I'm going to pass it along to my colleague Jake to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jake Kelzer. I am a program manager and advisor at the International Center. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining. And then I'll pass it over to Amanda, who's next.
Hi, everyone. My name's Amanda. I'm the student peer advisor here at the International Center, and I'll be speaking a little bit about my own personal experiences in finding an international internship, and I'll pass it to Mrs. Melissa Vert.
Hi, everybody. My name is Melissa Vert. I'm the Fellowship and Grants Coordinator over at the International Institute, and I have the distinct pleasure of speaking to you about some of our funding opportunities that might help you as you seek an internship. There's a little bit of placement that goes along with that, but predominantly funding for your opportunities. And it's just the beginning of all of the possible fellowships you can have, but I'll try to keep it brief enough for you to get a lot of information and start your search.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. So this is our agenda for today. So we will start by speaking about some University of Michigan sponsored internship opportunities and how you can find University of Michigan sponsored opportunities. We're also going to talk about external options, how to find things beyond the University of Michigan. And for that, we'll be focusing on both placement programs as well as self-arranged internships. We will hear from Amanda, who just introduced herself, who will tell us about her internship that she had abroad and the benefits that she got out of it. And then Melissa will talk to us, as she just mentioned, about funding opportunities, and then we will have time for Q&A. All right, so before we dive into, talking about all of the non-U of M international internship options out there, we did want to let you know that there are University of Michigan sponsored opportunities as well. So like most things at the University of Michigan, international internships are decentralized. So where you personally start on the journey of finding an internship is really going to depend on whether you are a graduate student, an undergraduate student. It will depend on the school or college that you belong to, and of course, your regional or thematic interest with your internship. So on the slide here, these bullet points list some offices that can be great resources for you as you are looking for international internships and also some specific internship opportunities. So for the LSA students, especially the undergraduates on the line, we would really recommend reaching out to the LSA Opportunity Hub. Their database of internships has, of course, many domestic opportunities, but they also promote some international opportunities through that database as well. For engineering students on the line, the International Programs and Engineering Office has resources on their website, and their advisors are also able to share information about different internship opportunities that would be most relevant to engineering students. I have to, of course, give a big shout out to our colleagues at the International Institute, which houses the area study centers at the University of Michigan. So things like the Center for Chinese Studies, Center for Japanese Studies, etc. Several of their area study centers have international internships. And so we've listed some of them on this slide. So some of them are not running currently. For example, the Center for Chinese Studies, Chinese Internship Initiative is not currently running for 2023, but there is an internship program in Japan. If you're thinking about going to Japan, we would recommend looking into that. The Weiser Center for European Studies is offering some internships in Poland this summer with a deadline of January 31st. So if you're thinking about going to that region of the world, we would recommend checking that out. And then if you are passionate about India and would like to do like a volunteer or a research project there, the Center for South Asian Studies has a longstanding fellowship called the Summer in South Asia Initiative. The deadline for that is coming up quite soon, and it is a relatively extensive application, but could be worth looking into potentially for this summer. And then for those of you who are joining us because you're interested in doing something in the future, maybe the next summer or beyond, certainly consider that program if you're thinking about India. If you are interested in global health, we wanted to highlight the Global Health Design Initiative, which is actually an academic program that has a field learning, hands-on opportunity as well. And there are two locations for that program this year, Ghana and Malawi. There are funding opportunities associated with this initiative as well. So it's for people from a wide range of academic backgrounds, so not just one major can apply. They just recently announced the application, and the apply by date is February 3rd. For students pursuing German, our German department has a special relationship with an organization called Cultural Vistas that offers summer internships. That deadline was in December, so it has passed. But again, if you're planning ahead for another summer, it's something to look into at that point. And then mCompass. We'll probably talk about mCompass a couple of times today, but that is a database for the University of Michigan that centralizes all of the study abroad opportunities that are administered by the University of Michigan, as well as internships and funding opportunities. So if you head to that link, you'll be able to search for internships and get a sense for all of the internships that exist on campus. Our LSA Study Abroad office, CGIS, they also offer many study abroad programs that have an internship component. So there's a lot out there that is administered by the University of Michigan that we would encourage you to consider. I also want to add that this presentation does have quite a few links, and we will be sending you all the slides so that you can reference these links in the future. I mentioned earlier the opportunities in Poland through the Weiser Center Internship Initiative. And so this is just the flyer for that opportunity. If you are thinking that you would like to go to Poland, we would recommend emailing our colleague, Gitta Kohler. Her email address is on this slide. She can tell you more about the specific opportunities that she has in Poland and discuss with you whether or not it would be a good fit. Some of the benefits of going through University of Michigan sponsored internships is that sometimes the costs are a little bit lower, and there might even be funding associated with the opportunity. So we'll talk a little bit more about how finances work with international internships and of course funding, but that's one of the advantages of going through a U of M program and why we encourage you all to consider them. And now my colleague Jake is going to talk a little bit about getting credit for your internship.
Yeah, so just wanted to make a brief note about whether you're going through a Michigan or a non-Michigan or independent internship program, you may be able to get credit for your internship. And there is a course for LSA students called ALA 225. It's an undergrad internship course. As you can see, it's a 1-credit course that you take online. And it is, there are some requirements in order to get credit for the course. So the internship has to be at least 6 weeks long, and you have to be interning for at least 25 hours per week. Also, you must sign up for the course before your internship date begins, but you can you can complete the course at the same time as your internship is happening. Then lastly, there's something called an override that you must apply to for the start of your internship. And the deadline for that is July 1st. So July 1st is the latest that you would be able to enroll and apply for an override for this course. But if your internship does start earlier than that, make sure that you do enroll in that course before that internship start date. We have a link to the course on this slide for more information. And I've also been told by an LSA academic advisor that you can either enroll in ALA 225 during the winter semester before your internship abroad during the summer, or the fall semester after. It might be either you could do, or one of the two. So I would talk to your academic advisor for more information about when you can enroll. And the reason that you would maybe want to do that is so you don't have to enroll in a course for the summer, and instead during the winter or fall semesters, like if you're taking, let's say, 14 credits, you can just tack on that extra 1 credit so you don't have to pay for that credit during the summer. So in a way, it's just kind of like a free way to get credit. So something you should consider if you're an LSA student. Next, sorry, one more thing about that slide, Kelly. One thing that you can also consider if you're an LSA student or a non-LSA student is that you might be able to get credit through an independent study course. And if that's something that interests you, getting credit for an internship, just talk to your academic advisor and see if your school or college will allow for that. And you can additionally have a conversation with either your major or minor advisors to see if you can get that internship credit to count towards a major or minor. It probably depends on the specific major or minor that you have. All right, next slide. So we are going to be, in the next quite a few slides, we'll be talking about the differences between self-arranged internships and placement, getting an internship through a placement program. So I'll be talking about placement programs next. All right, so what is a placement program? Basically, it is a company or organization that streamlines the process of providing students with an internship, and they do charge a fee for assisting through the process. So it does cost money to go through a placement program. How does the whole process work of going through a placement program? So you can see on the slide here, I have an example. It says Global Experiences. That is an organization that that is one of our, I guess, one of the more popular international internship providers, and they do a really good job of detailing the process. So you can click on that link for more information. But basically what happens is you apply through their website, and then hopefully within a few weeks or something like that, you'll hear back whether or not you're accepted into the program. Once you confirm that you want to move forward with going through the program, you will pay a fee and enroll into the program. Then once that happens, the company will work to match you with an internship abroad based on the location that you want to go to and based off your like your internship area of interest. So once they match you to a potential company or organization abroad, then the next step is that you will have to interview with that company. So you'll interview with your prospective employer. If all goes well, you'll get the job and go abroad. And then the placement program is also there to help you with on-site support as well. One thing that I wanted to mention about the process as well is that most of these internship providers do guarantee an internship placement, which means that if the first company that you either interview at or are already starting to work with is not seeming like it's going to work out, maybe it's a bad fit, maybe you just had a bad interview, most of these providers will be able to match you with someone until it does work out for you. So they are there to help make sure that you have the best possible experience that you can. This is most common for undergraduate students, so it's not as typical for grad students. But that said, for most of these programs, any type of student is eligible for these placement programs. Sorry, can you go back to, oh, okay. So some placement programs are better than others, and we're here to help with that. But some things to consider as you're looking through your search is the difference in costs between providers that you're considering, the level of support in country, or maybe even pre-departure support that's being offered, dates offered, how long the internship would be, what type of housing is provided. So those are just some considerations. And then lastly, some of these providers will offer internship programs that are credit bearing. For example, there might be a 3-credit course that you can take to supplement your internship experience. Other providers might not offer credits like that, but as I mentioned on a couple slides ago, you might be able to get credit through U of M through a course or an independent study. So make sure you're working with your academic advisor to see if you can earn credits if that's something that interests you. All right. So there are tons of internship programs out there. It can be overwhelming to look through them all and see which ones, might be the right program for you, just because the sheer number of programs are so high. So on the screen are just a few examples of organizations that we've either worked with in the past, or we know that U of M students have participated in the past. We can't necessarily endorse any of these programs, but we at least do feel program in promoting these. If you're interested in learning more about these specific organizations or about any other possibilities that you find, feel free to make an advising appointment with the International Center, and we'd be happy to sit with you and go over the different options that you have. And a question that we occasionally will get from students is, can we put you in touch with alumni of these programs? We've tried to do this in the past, and many times the organizations will reply to like me or Kelly and say that they aren't willing to share that information with us. But if a student, so if you were to reach out to that program directly and ask for alumni contact information, many times they've been willing to share that information directly with students. So just something to consider. All right, so what are the benefits of a placement program? There are, as you can see, there are many placement organizations provide a lot of structure and support, and this support does come at a price. So basically, like you're going to get what you pay for, and so some of those benefits can include various health and safety benefits, like ensuring your housing options will be safe. They have like local contacts that can help with give safety tips, be there as an emergency contact, things like that. They will also or should provide some type of pre-departure orientation to help you prepare for the internship experience. And then once you're there on site, many times they'll provide an in-country orientation, like one of your first couple of days there. Some other things that they can provide is, let's say there's some issue between you and the organization that you're interning with, but maybe they're making you just like get coffee for everyone and not actually do things related to your actual internship that were promised to you. That's when a placement program would be able to step in and advocate on your behalf and let them know that like you should be doing what was agreed upon. They might even provide transportation and have different types of like networking events with other interns that might be in your program, things like that. And then, yeah, I've already mentioned that some of these placement programs may offer a course where you can get academic credit for it. And then the last thing is, even if you are, if you're trying to decide maybe between whether or not you want to study abroad or intern abroad for a summer, some study abroad programs more and more are starting to offer for their study abroad program an embedded internship into their program. Maybe you're taking, 3 classes and then you're tacking on an internship for an additional 3 credits or something like that. So that's something to consider as well. And Amanda will actually talk to you more about her experience with that. Then one last benefit that I wanted to mention is, for many of these placement programs, there are other interns like you who are participating. So you are kind of like a cohort and not fully independently going through this internship experience by yourself. So these additional benefits sometimes include structured excursions where you and your cohort of interns will go to cool, maybe like historical or other types of sites nearby your internship placement or your internship city. And then, and of course, they offer a network of peers and potential friends. This could be your own interns or maybe even other local employees. So it could be opportunities to meet those from the country in which you're interning. And the last note in bold, just wanted to manage all of your expectations. Don't expect the majority of these positions to be paid. Most of these international internship positions are unpaid for various reasons, but maybe most notably due to many countries' visa restrictions on how you can obtain a visa for getting paid to do work abroad. So just wanted to mention that many students may be disappointed by the fact that you're not only working, but you're paying to go on this placement program, and then you're also doing work, and you won't be able to make money to do that. So just wanted to mention that. That's why this session is called How to Find and Fund an International Internship Experience, so we can help guide you on ways to fund this internship experience. So yeah, I just thought it was important to mention that as well. And then how can you go about finding a placement program? I've mentioned this already, but you can definitely lean on us at the advising center or at the International Center. We, every week have many advising hours blocked off to help students find any type of education abroad experience, including finding internships. And Kelly mentioned this earlier, but there might be specific U of M opportunities through your school or college, such as the LSA Opportunity Hub, or maybe through the College of Engineering or through Ross Business School or various schools and colleges. So you can also check with your school as well. One note on the LSA Opportunity Hub is that I noticed that on their website, this links to their international internship recommendations. The deadlines on their page are not updated. So it might be worthwhile if you want to intern through LSA, through the Opportunity Hub, it might be worth meeting with an LSA Opportunity Hub coach. It's kind of what their advisors are called, to see about any updated deadlines. You can also search for opportunities through a website called Go Abroad, which is really, really useful. You can kind of filter by country that you want to go to, even the city you want to go to, the type of internship field you want to go through, different things like that to help narrow down your search. And then if you find ones that seem like a good fit and you're not sure whether or not they sound reputable, legitimate, of course you can lean on the International Center. Also, there's a great website called Go Overseas, where you can look for reviews from many college students like yourself who have gone through the program and will recommend or not recommend the program. And then lastly, this might be more applicable to those who are interested in interning in the future, maybe not necessarily this upcoming summer, but we do have this large event called the International Opportunities Fair. It is every fall. So fall of 2023, if you want to go through or go to the International Opportunities Fair, you'll have the opportunity to meet with many different like placement program providers that offer international internships. So you'll be able to talk to them face to face, and that could be a good way to learn more about your options. And then the last slide is tips on how you can determine a program's legitimacy, besides, of course, working with the International Center. So there are a lot of things that we list here to consider. And there are a lot of organizations out there, and it can be challenging to figure out which is legitimate, which is not. There's not really always a foolproof test for this, but these are just a few things that you consider before selecting a program. I would say of all the things listed here, if you are paying a fee and not receiving these benefits, you should be very wary of that organization. It doesn't necessarily always mean that you'd be going through a bad organization, but it's always a good idea to question where your money is going, like what services your money are going towards. So just to highlight a couple things that should definitely be included in these placement programs would be having a local contact person. Very, very important that these organizations aren't just based in the US, helping you find an internship, and then once you're there, you got to figure everything out yourselves. They should have like a in-country office with staff that will help you assist you locally rather than from the US. Health insurance is also critical. You can get health insurance through U of M as well, but many times health insurance should be included through a placement program since you're paying money for it. Housing should also be included. That's probably the biggest reason why these placement programs do charge a fee is because housing is included. So I would make sure that it is included and it's in a safe area. And then maybe one last thing that I want to mention towards the bottom is that when you are working with these local organizations, make sure that maybe these organizations are locals that you're working with, so you can learn the culture, be more kind of immersed into the culture where you're interning, as opposed to maybe like a big like international organization where like it might defeat the purpose if you want to intern in another country, let's say Germany, and then you get there and then like it's like the company is like outsourcing like Americans or something like that, and then that might not really help you learn the different skills about working in another culture and working with people from different backgrounds and stuff like that. So those are some things to consider. And after doing all your research, if you're still unsure about which organization to go to, feel free to make an appointment with us. Many times we'll have heard of the organization and can offer our insight. If we don't know, we can definitely ask around to see if anyone in our field is familiar with the organization that you're interested in. All right, so that's placement programs, and I'll turn it over to Kelly to talk about self-arranged internships.
Awesome. Thank you, Jake. So self-arranged internships. So this is another really common method for securing international internships. And this essentially refers to finding an internship independently without the use of one of the placement programs that Jake was just talking about. So that's why we call it self-arranged. This option is a really great one for folks who would describe themselves as independent, who might not feel like they need the placement organization to facilitate all of the logistics that Jake just shared about, like finding housing and things like that. It's also potentially a good option for someone who has a highly specific sort of type of internship or organization that they're looking into, and they know they definitely want to do that, and they can't find a placement program that is able to secure them that opportunity. Lastly, I would say that many, but not all graduate students who are looking into doing international internships end up pursuing this method. So in some cases, international internship opportunities might fall into your lap, but in most cases, it does take some work to find them. In speaking with many students over the years that have pursued self-arranged international internships, we often hear kind of similar advice. So I'm just going to sum up, some of the comments that students have shared with us before. So I know it might sound cliche, but networking is actually very important for finding a self-arranged or independent international internship. We really recommend, if you kind of know what you're looking for, to talk to everyone about it. Talk to your advisors, talk to your professors, talk to your fellow graduate students. The University of Michigan community is large. I think we all know that. It's also very international. Folks have traveled all around the world to do their research and present at conferences and things like that. So really take advantage of the large and diverse U of M community, and perhaps you'll end up meeting someone or talking to someone who might have a connection that you could then talk to maybe figure out an internship opportunity. So this is kind of along those same lines, but as far as talking with faculty and graduate students, so even if you're an undergraduate student, you could think about reaching out to the graduate students who might be in your department. Many graduate students, before they come to Michigan for graduate school, have had maybe careers already, or have done gap years, or have had international experiences. So they're great resources too, and they might be able to connect you to someone who can help you find an opportunity. I think it's really important to talk about when you're having conversations with, for example, your professors or even advisors on this topic. It's really important to consider how you are talking about it and how you're asking questions about international internships. So for example, the question, do you know of any internships related to public health in Geneva, Switzerland? The answer will likely be no. It's perhaps unlikely that, a professor is going to know of a specific internship placement that you could have in the country that you want to go to. A better way to think about asking this question when you're networking is asking whether maybe the professor knows anyone who has done work related to public health in Switzerland, so that way they could maybe connect you to someone that you could reach out to, and again, maybe kind of organically come up with an internship placement. I think persistence is going to be key. I think that might be obvious based on some of the things I'm saying, but especially if you are sending out cold emails to folks that you don't have any connection with, expect to have to follow up. That's very normal. I'd also really recommend being really mindful about the subject line of your email. Make sure that it's specific and really describes what's inside the email. Obviously, everyone gets a lot of emails these days. And so if it's a really just generic subject line and they don't recognize your email address, it might get overlooked. So that's just a little recommendation. Back to the power of the U of M network. Sometimes, when I'm working with students that are looking for these sorts of internship opportunities, we find good connections by doing Google searches. I know that sounds very obvious, but sometimes you can search, for example, the topic maybe that you're really passionate about, or even the organization. And if you put type UMich after it and enter it into a Google search, sometimes it will pull up interesting work that someone at the university is doing, maybe with that organization or related to the topic. Similarly, I've gone to the University of Michigan homepage, and there's a search engine on that page, a Google search engine, and I've typed in things in there, and occasionally faculty CVs will pop up, and that can sometimes be helpful for networking for people. You can reach out to a professor and network maybe based on something that you found on their CV. So those are just some recommendations, I guess, for getting started when you're trying to navigate finding an internship independently. for, application and interview advice, and also for finding opportunities. Also want to recommend Going Global, or Going Global, I guess is how it's pronounced. It's linked on this website, but this is a resource that the University of Michigan Library System has a subscription to. And so you can access it through U of M libraries, and it includes country-specific guides, some city-specific guides, so large cities, and includes like interview advice, how to format a CV or resume. It even includes a job and internship search engine. So it's worth looking at, especially because it's a free resource for the University of Michigan community. And then this slide also indicates like Idealist and Handshake and AngelList for startups as other places that we know students have found internship opportunities that are international before. So there are many considerations that you need to think about if you are going to pursue an independent opportunity. Some of the really key ones: legitimacy of the organization, health and safety, and expenses. These are all things that you really need to have, I think, a really good grasp on before you go. Health and safety is, of course, something that's especially top of mind as we're still in a global pandemic. So there are considerations that you need to keep in mind with regard to that. Expenses. So even though, finding an internship through an organization that you found online, not using a placement program, even though you won't have to pay a program fee per se, it's really important to remember that these self-arranged internships still are probably going to cost money, because you're still going to have to, of course, buy your flight there, pay for housing, pay for transportation around the town. So there are going to be fees involved. And again, that's why we're talking about funding in just a few moments. You also really have to be honest with yourself about the level of independence that you are comfortable with and the type of experience that you're looking for. With these self-arranged internships, it's kind of like, you're kind of starting a new job, even in the US. Like, you arrive, there may or may not be an orientation, may or may not be other interns. And so it can be a little isolating for some people. Another really important thing to keep in mind is that global work can be sometimes a moving target. And by this, I mean that you might leave for your internship, get on the plane thinking that you're going to do one thing, and then you arrive and it turns out you're going to be doing something else. So this is very common. I think this is maybe particularly common for folks that are going abroad and might be working with like nonprofit organizations or, under-resourced organizations. But it is really important to kind of keep in mind if you are pursuing this. I think it's a really great way to look at to work on different projects and get new skills. It also is a great way to practice your flexibility, which is one of the most important skills to have for global work. But of course, if you feel like the work that you're being asked to do has nothing to do with what you came there for, it is, of course, perfectly acceptable to speak up for yourself and see if you can get some work that is more aligned with your goals. And yeah, just to highlight, flexibility is going to be one of the most important qualities that you have if you're pursuing an independent internship. And it might not be the perfect thing when you get there, but hopefully you'll still find a lot of great skills and experiences that will come of it. So we have spoke a bit about health and safety. And so on this slide, we highlighted 2 resources that you all should know about. We really recommend that even if you're doing a self-arranged independent internship, that you take advantage of the resources that are offered by the University of Michigan to keep you safe and healthy while abroad. The first thing on the left-hand side of this slide is the University of Michigan Travel Registry. This is a requirement if you're participating in any U of M related travel or sponsored travel. This is also a requirement if you're doing an independent internship, but you get funding from the University of Michigan. So once your travel plans are confirmed, you can enter them into the travel registry, and the university will then know that you are going to be abroad during certain dates and in a certain place. That way, if an emergency happens abroad, like a natural disaster or something like that, the university will get in touch with you via email to see if you're okay and potentially give you further instructions. So this is really, if you're doing something independent, this is really one of the only ways that University of Michigan will know that you're doing that. So we highly recommend that you sign up for the travel registry. The other resource, which is important to know about, is the university's travel abroad health insurance plan. This is available to students who are also doing independent travel. It's only $1.57 per day, customizable to the exact number of days that you need it, plus a $5 registration fee. It's extremely comprehensive. The university has so many people going abroad. We were able to negotiate a very comprehensive package. And I can't stress enough how important it is to have good health insurance if you are going, especially if you're going to be, traveling independently. And this website indicates where you can go to learn more about that. And now I'm going to turn it over to Amanda, who is going to talk to us a little bit about her international internship experience and what she got out of it.
Perfect. So going on to the benefits of an international internship. I did my program through DIS, which is Study Abroad in Scandinavia. And my internship was located in the heart of Copenhagen, Denmark, so right in the city. And as Jake mentioned, I ended up doing study abroad and internship abroad program. And my internship was a marketing internship for a Danish watch company. And my class was on startups in Scandinavia. So my role description was organizing branding and external marketing communications for the startup. So this included running social media pages, writing blog posts, increasing SEO. I also helped organize publicity events such as a booth at the Copenhagen Pride, an annual event for the city. And I also helped pitch the company at various networking events. So all in all, it was a great experience. So what does this timeline actually look like? So last year when I started looking, the first thing I actually did was I attended the same exact presentation. And that really started to get my interest looking at an international internship. So after doing that, I set up a meeting with the IC, which I now work for, to discuss my options. So I looked on LinkedIn and Handshake, and also for U of M opportunities, which is what I ultimately decided doing. So I found mine through IP, which is the engineering study abroad office for the school. And so once I chose mine, I started looking for funding. And I actually ended up receiving mine through the International Institute Scholarship Foundation, which I think Melissa Vert will be touching on later. So that was a great opportunity to look for. And then the other thing that I would keep in mind, a part of this timeline, is that something I struggled with was finding letter of recs for funding and applying. So I would really start keeping that in mind, like as soon as possible, to start looking for people to ask. So once you have those things, you're pretty much good to go and ready for your internship experience. And now on to how I picked mine. So there were a few determining factors, but really one of the main things for me was I wanted something run by U of M at the end of the day. This was something that's easy and comfortable for me. I had trust that the university would pick a program that would have a suitable internship and real work for me. So that appealed to me. I could also get credit for it. The other thing that was important is going abroad is sometimes scary. So I wanted to have like suitable housing, SIM card and contacts, basically the benefits that Jake listed. Like I really wanted to make sure that those were solid. Second, I chose doing a study abroad and internship because I wanted to enter with a cohort. It's nice to have a group of friends when you're abroad, so it's less lonely. And it's also nice to make contacts for when you return to the US, to have people that you can keep in touch with. And then also, I'm an organizational studies major with minors in entrepreneurship and environmental science. And at this time, I was still exploring what way I wanted my career to go. So I felt like having a flexible program with skills in entrepreneurship and marketing could be applied in many different areas and to really any career I chose later in life. And next, I'll talk about what there is to learn from an international internship. So I really think this is the most I've ever learned from an opportunity. I highly recommend it. Even though I did a placement, I still felt that I had the most independence I've ever had, even with it being arranged. I learned how to be more adaptable, responsible. Really, this was one of my first times being in a professional environment. And also I learned a lot from interacting with foreign professionals and people with different culture and how to conduct business with just people from different countries. And also time management, taking class abroad, interning abroad, and also wanting to enjoy the city that I'm in and exploring really takes a lot to make sure that you're on top of things and prioritizing stuff. So in general, just lots of new experiences that were great to learn from, and I highly recommend interning abroad. I'll pass it on to funding now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Amanda. And for anyone on the line who has questions about Amanda's experience, feel free to send her a chat and I'm sure she'd be happy to talk more about the experience. Okay, now we are to the funding section, which I know probably a lot of you are anxiously awaiting. So we already talked about this a bit, but it is the reality that most international internships are unpaid. And as Jake mentioned earlier, part of the reason for this has to do with regulatory or visa restrictions that do not allow employers to pay foreign interns. So because of that, it is really important, if you are needing funding, that you apply for various options that are available at the University of Michigan. So before I turn it over to my colleague Melissa to talk more specifically about funding opportunities, I did just want to give a little bit of context. So the first thing to keep in mind if you are thinking about funding opportunities is that the funding opportunities that you'll find at the University of Michigan are either merit-based or need-based. So if the funding is need-based, you will likely need to provide proof of financial need. This typically means that you have to have completed a FAFSA and have that on file with the Office of Financial Aid. If the funding opportunity is merit-based, financial need, as defined by the FAFSA, is not necessarily taken into consideration, and you are evaluated by other requirements of the program. For example, how well your essay aligns with the requirements or the prompt for the application. So there's both merit and need-based. So if you are someone on the line who does not qualify for federal financial aid, I just want to let you know that there are still plenty of opportunities out there for you. So if you are doing one of the placement programs, we always recommend starting there. Asking them whether they have any scholarships. We do know that a lot of the placement organizations that University of Michigan students often go through, and with this, I'm kind of particularly speaking about undergraduate opportunities, a lot of those organizations do have funding, both need and merit-based funding opportunities. So if you don't see it on their websites, don't hesitate to ask. The International Institute, which you'll hear from in a moment, has many funding opportunities, and many of them are merit-based. So we'll hear about those soon. For LSA students pursuing internships, the LSA Scholarship Office has a special internship fund for you, and that tends to be need-based. So that would be for folks who do qualify for financial aid. In the International Center, we have a small fund, the Mark and Myra Sorensen International Travel Scholarship, which is for education-related travel. And for that particular scholarship, we are preferencing folks who haven't had an opportunity to go abroad before. I'd mentioned early the Summer in South Asia program. This is a funding opportunity administered through the Center for South Asian Studies and the International Institute. And then if anyone on the call is thinking about going to Israel, the International Center has another funding opportunity called the Swika Family Israel Travel Fund. And this is specifically for Israel, and we're able to fund international internships. External funding, some highlights that we wanted to mention for folks that receive Pell Grants on campus. You may want to look into the Benjamin Gilman Scholarship. This is a national scholarship for study abroad, but also folks who are doing internships for credit can qualify as well. The Boren Scholarship and Fellowship, this is another national scholarship. There's an undergrad and a graduate student version. The graduate student version does include funding for internships. Diversity Abroad is a database, and it has resources, some scholarships and resources for students who are underrepresented in education abroad. So there's a little scholarship database that you could take a look at. The Fund for Education Abroad is a scholarship fund. which can include internships. And this is also specifically for folks who are less represented in education abroad opportunities. Over here to the right of the slide, we included some links that could be of interest to you if any of you are Rackham graduate students. This Rackham database right here has a wide range of funding opportunities, both for domestic opportunities, but also some international related things as well. So now I'm going to turn it over to Melissa to talk to us about all the funding opportunities that the International Institute has.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And also, I just wanted to say it's super cool to hear from Amanda, who had received some of this funding before. And thanks for those of you who are sticking on, because this is the cool part where the rubber hits the road. This is my first time I get to talk this year, and I get super pumped about all the different funding opportunities that are available to you. But to keep it specific, let's talk about what it means to fund an internship. What you see here is a fund that is specifically devoted to students at the University of Michigan to help support them if they want to do an internship or a research opportunity abroad. So what you see before you is the International Institute's student fellowships, and the application is a conglomerate of multiple different fellowship funds or funds that are able to provide support for you as you're going abroad. You are going to see that this is money for UM Ann Arbor students, regardless of their citizenship or major. So if anybody's on the line who isn't a US citizen, this may be one of potentially the only opportunities that you have to fund both research or internships abroad. So take advantage of this. Know that this is a great opportunity for you, and we are looking forward to seeing anybody who isn't a US citizen as well. It's also worth noting, begrudgingly, that if we have any soon to graduate seniors on the line, that the purpose of this funding is to support you while you are still a student at the University of Michigan. You are expected to be returning to campus for at least one term. Now, in the past, as a result of COVID, we tried to be flexible with some of our expectations, and there were cases in which people were expected to graduate in their next semester, and we still gave them additional funding. While I wouldn't count on that, you could always shoot your shot to see where you land, and I'll talk about that kind of in a couple slides. But effectively, it's important to know that if you're applying for this fund, that you are expected to return to campus to report on what you learned and what you did. This is going to be funding not just over the summer, but for the entire year. So if you are here thinking to yourself, maybe I'll be an intern, maybe I'll do some research, this is an opportunity for you to kind of suggest both of those. So the way that you're going to do it is through the link that you see right there. That's going to take you to the application components. And we have a nice Canvas site where you can go check out some of our info sessions. P.S. Some of our info sessions are coming up as soon as next week. So as you check the website, make sure you go and look and see if there's any opportunity to hear more about it from me. You're welcome. This, again, is something for you to be going outside of the United States. There was a time that we were using this funding to support virtual internships. We're trying to move away from that. The whole idea is you get out of the country in order to get the funding. But it's also for students of all levels. So within this application, you are going to find funding availability from if you are a freshman all the way to if you are a candidate as a PhD. We want to make sure that people get more opportunities to get out. And we know that that costs a lot of money. Speaking of which, how much money would you be getting? Well, for graduate students who are able to apply for the RERA, you can get up to $10,000. It's worth knowing that that's not the normal amount that we give out. We normally give an average of about $6,000, $6,500, but that ain't a small chunk of change. For the other grants, you'll get up to potentially $5,000. And speaking of the grants that are housed in here, the one I really want to point out to you, because I'm imagining there's a lot of undergraduate students here, is the Global Individual Grant, because that is a basically go anywhere, do anything kind of fund. If you have a place that you're going for any major, it doesn't matter where it is on the map, we are interested in your application. We want to see if we can't give you a little bit of money. For people who have a region that we are able to cater to specifically, you can see down here we have an African Study Center funding research or internship support in Africa. You've got Latin America, Armenia, you've got the Weiser Center again. So these are other specific grants that if you happen to want to do an internship in those regions, not only can you check the box for the gig, but you can also check the box for those centers that apply to you, and you may get even more funding in order to be able to go on your internship. Not listed here, as you may have noticed, is a number of East Asian or South Asian opportunities, as you kind of saw beforehand. Those do reside in the International Institute. We highly recommend that you apply for them. They just don't fall under this application. So you can go and look at the different centers. I would check, I highly advise you go and check each individual center, see what's hanging around there. There may be some fellowships that just don't exist in this application. While I have your attention, I do want to point out this cute little gray box to the side. Maybe just by me suggesting that you might get money to be able to go on an internship, you're like, but what if there's more money in other places? There is. We have the Fulbright program that sends you abroad after you graduate. There's the FLAS program, we give you money just for learning a foreign language. The Boren program that we talked about, which can support your internship or research desires while you're learning a language. There's just so many different opportunities that you can get funding for to get out. We highly recommend you check out some of our other opportunities. Moving on to application stuff. So it's worth noting, I'm going to talk kind of specifically about what the components are for the International Institute's student fellowship application, but this is very applicable for many funding applications, especially ones that are going abroad. So first and foremost, even if you're looking at this list, you're thinking, I don't know if this is going to be available to me, or like, no, I have plenty of time and I don't have to focus on it yet. Now is always a great time to start organizing your resume and your transcripts. You're doing it anyway to search for these internships. You are already networking. Might as well start compiling all of these things as well for funding proposals. And make sure as you're doing that proposal, that work, that you're doing research on the things specific to these things that you're applying for. You're going to want to meet the requirements that you are applying for. And you're going to want to make sure that you have a good network of people that may be able to review you as you are making these applications. So there's never a bad time to both check out the requirements that are in these programs that you're looking for, and then also talking to other potential professors and employers. They may know of things that are going to be valuable on specific applications. They may know of other funding opportunities that exist. That's always an added boost. I want to focus a little bit on preparing your personal statement that is answering the prompt that is given to you by any fellowship or funding request. It's always good to know that if it suits one funding opportunity, it's pretty darn transferable to other funding opportunities. They're going to have the same questions on the IISF application as they will potentially on the Boren application or the Fulbright application. And it kind of also helps to calm you down when you think, okay, well, I'm just going to apply to this one thing. It's going to be a little difficult. It makes it easier to know, well, once I've started here, I can now put a bunch of eggs in a bunch of different baskets and just see what funding comes my way. When you're doing that, though, you do want to consider, as you're writing these applications, that you're thinking about almost in every single one of these funding applications is going to want to understand, wait, why is it so important that you get this money? What's so great about what you're proposing? And it's worth it to kind of consider for yourself, whatever internship that you'd like to do that you need to fund, is this the only opportunity that you have? Is it crucial to your academics or your future career? Are you really the person to do it? Like if that internship was looking for great people, you would definitely be the one. Those types of things, just thinking about it in that light, are going to help you better draft a statement. Because when we're sitting in the back rooms deciding who gets the money, we're trying to think, okay, who has a good feasible plan? Who has really connected the dots? This internship really makes sense for them. Who is I can see this person in the future, they're going to do this career. This internship will definitely help them there. If you, for some reason, want to be an artist and you've decided that instead you're going to go and do research or do an internship that's in hot dog making, you're going to have to help connect the dots for us to make us see how this is going to fit into your entire plan. It's also really important to note with these personal statements that if you have anything that's just going along with research, if your internship is going to be something that's related to career work, that your proposal for doing research work is not the same as doing funding proposals. You don't have to go in depth into the nitty-gritty about your specific academic area of expertise or the specifics of the career that you're looking at. You're going to do it just enough so that the person who's reading your application has an idea of what it is you're going for. And then you can explain your methodology, how the funding is going to work, how the budgeting works, and so forth. Because the people reading these applications for funding are less concerned with your academic merit and more concerned with how this money fits into your big plan. Putting together a budget. Make sure to include all the key elements of you surviving in another country, how you're going to get there, where you're going to live, the food, the insurance costs, all of those things that kind of seem to filter in. You're going to want to make sure that you account for that. Even sometimes by saying like, hey, this program that I'm applying for has covered things like my housing and food and insurance. Make sure to illustrate that in your budget so everybody knows that you're not asking for money for those items, but you do know that they cost money. It's also worth noting too, as well, that you're generous with your expectations. If you're saying, I know I can definitely get to that country on a bunch of little skipper planes and it'll only cost me $200, everyone is going to think that you haven't seriously considered what it takes to get abroad. So, it's reasonable to quote a reasonable cost for a plane ticket. Additionally, do yourself a favor, stick to the budget. Money is not, it doesn't grow on trees. You will run out of it. When you have your budget in place, hold yourself to making sure that you utilize only what you have designated as your desired expenditure for that program. We also want to make sure that you get a letter from your affiliate or the groups that you're planning to go work with. Now, it could be the case that, especially if you're applying for an internship program, they may not have accepted you yet at the time that you are required to submit a funding proposal. This is very normal. The way that our application works is on a completely different timeline than the way that these program timelines are going to go. So the way that you craft it in your messaging is like, hey, I'm going to be on that program. All I need is the money. That's how you write to us. To them, you say, hey, you need to let me on this program. I've just got money waiting for me. This is a really common practice when you're trying to get these applications to fit together. And once you get the hang of it, that's when you can start applying for fellowships all the time. Finally, make sure that when you get recommendations, you get them from people who really know who you are. The best, of course, is picking someone who's got a lot of clout or maybe is, well published in the area that you plan to be doing your research or career or internship. But the more important part is, do they know you and do they like you? There is nothing wrong with asking a recommender, can you give me a positive recommendation for my application? And then, it might hurt if they're a little bit too honest, but trust their response. If they feel like they really want to give you something positive, that's going to look great. If they come back and hem and haw, don't worry, there's plenty of other people who love you. You'll find somebody. So just take them at their word. And please give them time to consider writing recommendations. Know that as application readers, we know that you're putting in all of the effort for the funding for you. Sometimes recommenders might drag their feet a little bit. While we do encourage you to make sure that they know that they need to submit it on time, know that on this end, we are also aware that between the two of you, you are far more likely to be punctual and they may take a little extra time. So don't let that frighten you off. Okay, next slide. And also thank you to my friends over there who are doing the slides. Most importantly, out of all of this, don't give up. You may find yourself in a position, you may be a senior right now and be like, oh, I've missed my chance for funding. This is never going to work for me. Or you throw your hat in the ring and you're like, I am a shoo-in. There is no way I can't get this money. And then you don't get it. And now you're sitting there thinking, what do I do? Know that applying for funding isn't easy. You can throw your hat into a million different rings and still come up a little bit dry, but there's always more opportunities. There are plenty of places. We are looking for you. We want to give you this money. So please don't give up and give it a shot. If for some reason you applied for ISF one year, it didn't work, try it again. We're still around. And we're here to help you through all this. So if you find yourself in a jam, try to come talk to us, or also potentially go and talk to other centers. It never hurts to come over here in person and see if you can't find out if there's any flexibility in a certain place, or they might have a pocket of funding there they really need to get rid of. You may find yourself in just an opportune moment simply just by being around. Do your own research. So as much as I would love to say that I have all the answers for any student that walks through the door, the truth of the matter is that you know yourself. And so you need to be able to feel like you can go and take a search around and see what kind of opportunities are available to you. Even so much as Googling is a good shot, but then also check out the networks that you have. Come and utilize the different centers we have. We may be able to point you in a direction that just isn't listed here. Oh, it's worth noting that you may not hear about these answers for funding opportunities until the end of the winter semester. Try to stick in it, try to hang tough, but know that those answers are going to come, and prepare yourself for that. If you feel like you're going to need funding in a specific date, when they say that they're not going to be able to give you information until X time, please believe them. And sometimes it can take a little bit of a delay after receiving an award for it to be processed through your student account. I also really want to let you know as well, as I see Kelly is providing a little bit of a reminder that, hey, it doesn't matter whether or not you're a 4.0 student or if you have substantial financial need, you should, in most cases, hit submit. You may even get to a point where your application is only 70% done. While, not everybody wants to hear this. The truth is that sometimes we're looking at the bottom of the barrel to be like, okay, we still have funding. We don't have applications. Who should we be giving money to? For that reason alone, you should start an application for any funding that you find interested in. And be honest with yourself. If you don't finish through the application, the likelihood that you're going to get the funding is going to be reduced. But it's not impossible, and it's certainly worth throwing your hat in the ring. And then finally, of course, have a backup plan. Know that anything that you sent an application for could potentially come back negative. It doesn't mean you're bad, doesn't mean you won't get money in the future. It just means you didn't get that money. So what else can you be doing to support? That's where I encourage you to come back to our websites and check out other opportunities, say for post-education opportunities, or maybe if you're an undergraduate student, when you're a graduate student, or maybe when you're a graduate student, opportunities when you're a faculty member. There are many, many, many ways to get abroad. This isn't the only way. So we have a lot of opportunities if you ever felt like you wanted to stop by to hear about, and we can bring you up to speed. Thank you for your time.
All right, and thank you, Melissa. Lots of really, really useful information about how to find funding, and I hope we're really driving home the point that it is worthwhile to just apply to as much as you can. There's really no negative in doing so. So before we wrap things up, I just wanted to mention an event series that we have called I See Global Wolverines, that this event right now is actually the first event of the semester. So Global Wolverines, as I indicated, is a series of events that are taking place throughout the entire winter semester that aim to prepare students for international internships or service learning opportunities that are taking place over the summer. And these events consist of, and you can see this in the graphic, they consist of various different topics that can help you help prepare you for your experience. So they can include topics around health and safety, travel logistics, different types of ways to like improve your language skills while abroad. So basically different types of ways that you can prepare for your international experience and also make the most of your international experience. So all of these events are open to all. And in addition to just attending the events, the ones that are a good fit for you, we do have a cohort option that you can register for. And we call it our additional support cohort option. And basically what this includes is if you attend, so there are certain commitments, and Kelly, thank you for including the link in the chat. If you attend a certain amount of events and blog at least 3 times throughout the summer, and then attend a re-entry event in the fall to talk about your summer experience, then you will be eligible for certain perks in being part of the Global Wolverines cohort, which includes that we will pay for your travel abroad health insurance, which can be especially helpful if that's not included in the program you're going through. You'll get a certificate of completion that officially says that you were in the Global Wolverines program. And then we'll also have some special sessions, like in-person sessions and gatherings for you that will include maybe some food and some like travel-related prizes and stuff like that. Just give additional support, but also give you the opportunity to connect with others that are about to go through something similar to yourselves. So I will go to the page now and share with you the direct form. It's on the link that Kelly provided, but you can also just apply or register for Global Wolverines. It's very, very brief. It's just to indicate that you're interested. And there's no it's not like competitive or anything. Those who register for Global Wolverines will be part of Global Wolverines. So we do encourage you to register and get some additional support and perks from us. So yeah. Thank you very much for attending. We do have about 10 more minutes left of the session. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in the chat or unmute yourselves. Or as the slide indicates, you can email ic-abroad@umich.edu if you have any follow-up questions for us, or you can attend our virtual advising hours. So with that in mind, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question about like setting up the budget. Are we going to get like assistance for doing that if it's something we don't have experience doing?
Yes, that's absolutely part of the support that we'll provide is helping you complete a budget sheet, think of considerations when filling out a budget sheet for funding and stuff like that. So that's absolutely something we can do. See a question from Kat. Will the slides be made available to meeting attendees? Yes, anyone who registered and attended this will be able to access the slides and the recording. So we will share that with you we will share both of them with you once the recording is ready. Thank you, Melissa, for sharing the International Institute Student Fellowship info sessions that are taking place next week. So yes, if any of you are available during any of the times, you're definitely encouraged to attend. Anything else? So question is, can you explain what the difference between IC Global Wolverines and the other programs mentioned are? So I see Global Wolverines or Global Wolverines is it's a series of events. So we're not a placement program. So we don't provide any like pre-departure or on-site support that a placement program would. We can help you find international internships, but we don't manage or administer any of these internships. So it's more of a series of events that will support you in your pursuit of an internship. And once you receive an internship or other type of international experience, we'll have events on different types of considerations that you would have when as you prepare for your internship experience, such as like different health and safety considerations, like maybe how you can book travel abroad, managing money while abroad, how to respectfully engage with the community that you'll be living and interning in. So different types of sessions like that, as opposed to these like self-arranged or placement internships that are much more involved in like the nuts and bolts of doing an internship. Does that make sense, Victoria? Awesome. Okay. And then Shuo, yes, we will be sharing the slides and the recording with everyone after the presentation. It just might take a little bit for the recording to be ready, but we will share both of them with you as soon as they are.
Great, thank you, Jake. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so I think we can go ahead and wrap up. Thank you all for coming today, especially for those of you who are still here. I know it was a lengthy session with a lot of information, but hopefully those of you who are tuning in virtually will find this session helpful as well. And yeah, thank you all. And please reach out to the International Institute or the International Center if you have any further questions. Have a great weekend, everyone.